It was one of those nights that cuts straight through your coat, the kind of cold that makes the whole city feel abandoned. Down on an empty street in Cleveland, the neon sign above a little soul food spot sputtered like it was fighting for its last breath. Inside the owner, Leon Parker sat hunched at a table with a mountain of unpaid bills and his father's old carving knife lying next to them. That knife had once been a symbol of pride, 3 generations of Parkers serving up food to the neighborhood. But now it just felt like a reminder that he'd let the dream slip away. He whispered into the silence, "I'm sorry, Pop. I killed the place you built." The only reply was the wheeze of a refrigerator older than Leon himself. He locked up, stepped out into the snow, and wondered if tomorrow he'd even have keys to turn. That's when he saw them, an elderly woman and a boy, no older than 9, curled against a brick wall with nothing but a ragged blanket. The kid's lips were purple, his voice so thin it broke Leon's chest. "Grandma, I'm so cold." Leon froze. He knew what it felt like to drown quietly in despair. But this was worse. He still had a roof, 4 working burners' walls to keep out the wind. These two had nothing. He walked up slowly, boots crunching on ice, and said in the softest voice he could manage, "I own that diner right there. It's closed, but the heat works, and I can make you something warm. No strings, no charity. Just come in." The woman's chin lifted, her eyes full of pride and suspicion. "We don't take handouts." Leon started to argue, but before he could, the boy tugged her sleeve and whispered, "Please, Grandma. I'm so cold." Her shoulders sagged and she gave the smallest nod. Minutes later, they were sitting in a booth by the heater while Leon worked the kitchen. He made chicken soup from muscle memory like his father used to. The boy devoured it, spoon clanking against the bowl. The grandmother finally let herself take a sip. Her eyes closed and she whispered, "It's good." For the first time in months, Leon's chest loosened. When they'd finished, he couldn't bring himself to send them back into the snow. "There's a couch in the storage room. Blankets, too. Stay tonight." She hesitated, tears shining in her eyes. But when the boy begged again, she whispered, "Thank you." The next morning, Leon walked in expecting the same messy restaurant he'd left behind. Instead, he stopped cold. Every table was wiped clean, the counter cleared, windows polished until they gleamed. From the back room came the sound of laughter. He pushed the door open and found the woman folding rags, the boy holding up a piece of paper. "Look, we cleaned everything, and I drew this for you." Leon took the drawing. It showed the diner full of smiling people, the windows glowing with light, and at the door stood 3 figures, a man, an old woman, and a boy. For a moment, Leon couldn't speak. Something stirred deep inside him, something he thought had died long ago. But then the front door rattled with a sharp knock. A man in a long coat walked in, smirk plastered on his face. "Looks cleaner than your books, Parker. Funny how you can mop a floor but can't pay your debts. 2 weeks. Get me my money or this place isn't yours anymore." He tapped his knuckle on the counter and left boots crunching like a countdown. Leon's hands shook. He clenched them until his knuckles whitened, but the old woman, her name he'd later learn was Ruth, saw it all. The boy. Evan peeked out from behind her, asking softly, "Who was that?" "Mr. Parker." Leon forced a smile and lied. "Nobody you need to worry about." But inside he was terrified. 2 weeks later, the bills hadn't budged. Customers were scarce. That's when Leon looked at Evan's drawing on the counter and thought, what if? He cooked up trays of food and told them, "If folks won't come in here, we'll go out there." They stood outside, handing out samples in the freezing air. Evan's little voice shouted, "Try it, it's good." And for the first time in ages, people stopped, tasted, and smiled. A few even came back. But the small victory shattered when Evan collapsed that night, burning with fever. The doctor said it was pneumonia. Leon didn't think twice. He emptied the last of his savings, the money he was supposed to use for the restaurant, to pay for Evan's care. When Ruth saw it, her eyes filled with tears. "You gave up everything for a boy you barely know." Leon shook his head, voice cracking. "He deserves a chance." As Evan recovered, Ruth finally told her story. She'd lost her daughter in a car accident. The boy's father had abandoned him, and she'd been struggling on her own ever since. They were put out of their apartment when she couldn't keep up with rent. I thought I'd survived everything life could throw at me, she said. But watching Evan shiver in doorways broke me. Leon covered her hand and whispered, "You're a good grandmother. He knows you love him, and you're not alone anymore." From that day on, they weren't just guests, they were family. Ruth moved into one of the empty rooms above the diner. Evan claimed the little room with a window, proudly saying, "So I can see people coming to eat." Together, they started to rebuild. But the collector came back this time with 2 men at his side. He sneered, "Time's up, Parker. Heard you've been playing house instead of paying bills." Leon clenched his fists, ready for the fight he couldn't win. That's when Ruth stepped forward, chin high, voice steady. "He doesn't have your money, but I do." She pulled out an envelope stuffed with bills. Leon's eyes widened. "Ruth, no!" But she cut him off. "You spent your last dollar to save Evan. This money's been sitting in my purse for 3 years. It was meant for my son's future, but he's gone. What matters now is here, this family, this place." She slapped the money on the counter. "Take it and don't come back." The collector's smirk faded. He counted the cash, then gave a short nod. "Debt's cleared. Place is yours." And just like that, he was gone. Leon stared at Ruth, his voice raw. "That was everything you had." She met his gaze without flinching. "No, Leon. Everything I have is sitting upstairs, drawing pictures and calling you family." From that day forward, Parker's Diner became something new. Ruth balanced the books. Evan greeted customers with a smile so bright folks came in just to see him. Word spread that this wasn't just a restaurant anymore, it was a sanctuary. On Saturday mornings, Leon served free breakfasts for the homeless. Ruth turned the back room into a study space for neighborhood kids. And every wall slowly filled with Evan's drawings and thank you notes from strangers. Months later, on Christmas morning, the diner was packed. Neighbors who had nowhere else to go shared turkey and laughter around tables that used to sit empty. Evan ran downstairs holding a scrapbook he and Ruth had made. He flipped through pages of photos, clippings, drawings. On the last page was a picture he'd drawn of the 3 of them under a sign that read, "The Parker Watson Family Diner, where everyone belongs." Leon looked at it and felt his chest tighten. He realized he hadn't saved the diner Ruth and Evan had saved him. And yet, here's the part people still argue about. Ruth gave up her son's entire settlement money, meant to protect Evan's future, to clear Leon's debts. Was it the ultimate act of love, or a reckless gamble that could have left them with nothing? What do you think? Was Ruth right to sacrifice it all, or should she have kept that money safe for Evan? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because stories like this aren't just about food or family. They're about the choices we make when life gives us no easy answers. And if you believe kindness still has a place in this world, hit that like button, share this story, and subscribe for more. Because at the end of the day, maybe success isn't measured in dollars at all, but in the lives we touch when we choose love over fear.